Hello, hello, beautiful person. I am so happy to be talking to you. So let me see, what have I got going here? Alrighty, I've got TikTok, I've got Instagram, and I've got StreamYard where I'm live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, all being well. So, can't believe it is a Sunday evening again. Hey, Joanne, nice to see you. All right. So, let me introduce myself. My name is Hadass. I'm a life coach. I am a wellness advocate, and my jam is helping people feel better in all different ways. And lately, I've been on a bit of a kick because just everything that's going on these days, as they say, everything. And so I've been talking a lot about social justice, about just, treating people like human beings. That's apparently a big deal nowadays. So tonight I wanted to talk about no person is an island. And that, of course, is a paraphrase of a very famous quote from John Donne, who was an Elizabethan poet and writer. So he lived in like the, I don't know, 17th century, long time ago. And lots of people have used his, like Hemingway wrote a book whose title was from this quote, as for whom not for whom the bell tolls. And I just wanted to read it to you. By the way, if you like my stuff, you should probably subscribe to my Substack. It's free, and like I write all the stuff that, especially like on Sunday evenings, my Sunday Silver, I talk about stuff, and then Monday morning a Substack goes out with a column or a piece, if you will, on the same topic. So if you like it, you might want to consider checking out my Substack. And the way to do that is wherever you are right now on my social media or my YouTube later, then there's a link in my bio, which is my link tree, and there's all sorts of stuff there that you can check out for sure. But in particular, you can find my Substack there, and then you can get my weekly stuff, which is about the same sort of things that I'm talking about. So I just wanted to read to you what Mr. Don wrote. And he said, and he used the words man rather than person because he was writing in the 17th century. But he said, no man is an island entire of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. If a clod be washed away by the sea, Europe is the less, he was an Englishman, uh, as well as if a promontory were, as well as any manner of thy friends or of thine own were, any man's death diminishes me, because I am involved in mankind. And therefore never send to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. So like I said, lots of people have done, there's been movies and books and all sorts of things done with this sentiment. But I think it's really important to talk about it because, especially here in North America, especially in the US, but it's also in Canada, and I've seen the same sort of nonsense in Australia as well, and just various places that were settled by, younger sons, spares. And that's a whole different story. But this whole rugged individualism and, my rights and my freedom and so on, and basically the idea that government should stay out of my business, which is all very well and good, but the point is that when you have a community, then you have an obligation to care for people who are um, weak and vulnerable and maybe aren't contributing. You still have an obligation to take care of them, and that is something that our late capitalist society is not doing such a great job of it. Basically, I've been listening to Tricia Hersey. If you're not familiar with her work, she is uh, a Black writer and former artist. She calls herself the Nap Bishop. I love that. She has a nap ministry, and she's written a book. It's called Rest is Resistance, and it's I really love it. I mean, she's Black. It's mostly meant for Black people, but she also points out that everyone's liberation is tied up with everyone's liberation. She doesn't quite put it like that, but basically none of us is free unless all of us are free. And that's what a lot of people have difficulty understanding because they just have this vision. And the thing is that we live in a society which is very tightly hierarchical. And the people at the top, and catcher in the rye. Yeah, that's a whole different, whole different conversation. But I would definitely recommend Rest is Resistance by Tricia Hersey if you're looking for book recommendations. So I think I have it here somewhere. Hold on just a second. Yes, here it is. Rest is Resistance. Some places, I think on TikTok and in Instagram, it's backwards. Actually, I think it might be on the others as well. Sorry. But anyway, Rest is Resistance, Tricia Hersey. So where was I? Okay. So we live in a highly hierarchically structured society. And basically at the top are cis white heterosexual men and mostly Christian. And basically everything goes down from there. Now, it's not such a great deal for them either because they're in a very, it really sucks when the only emotional expression you're allowed is rage and violence. I'm being a little stereotypical here, but it's certainly, I hear a lot of people who were socialized as boys, and telling stories about being bullied for crying, and don't be a sissy. That is apparently the worst possible thing that can happen. Toxic masculinity is really bad for everybody, including the people who are living it out. I mean, look at Andrew Tate. You want an example of somebody for whom toxic masculinity has been a really bad choice, but that's a whole different story. Apparently, the Romanians are not treating him very nicely. So sad. But so they're at the top for what it's worth. And the other thing is that they are expected not only to be very stoic and to the only feelings they're allowed to express are rage and violence, but thank you for the hearts. And then they're also supposed to only be interested in the pursuit of wealth and dominance over women. And again, being very stereotypical, but I'm talking about structures here. And then everybody else is under that, whether it's the women who are part of their structure, or, and of course, all the other people, BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, people of color, of all genders, LGBTQ people, etc. And of course, religious minorities. Don't forget that. if you don't subscribe to a specific form of Christianity, then you might have a hard time living in some parts of North America. So it's a problem because it destroys community. When you have some people, it's Animal Farm, some people are more equal than others. George Orwell was talking about this back, in the 40s. And the fact remains that a lot of things have not gotten a lot better because people don't want it to. It's really simple. There's a lot of resistance. And so what are we doing today? We are talking about community and why people's insistence on individual rights and the idea that their freedom, even if it involves taking away other people's bodily autonomy, for example, in all these places where abortion is being banned. And so, was it the one state in the US where they were talking about not allowing women to cross state lines to go to another state to get an abortion? I'm like, that's kind of unconstitutional. People, like American citizens, are allowed to travel anywhere in the US. So can you just imagine, are they going to set up border guards and test everybody? It's like, oh my God. Anyway, that whole idea that, and they're doing it in the name of freedom. I'm not quite sure whose freedom this is, but it's certainly not the freedom of the pregnant people who don't want to be pregnant anymore. So there's that. And the other, what else was I talking about? Oh yeah, so like religious minorities, it's very difficult to live under a Christian hegemony, let me tell you. And every year, when my kids were younger, yeah, you can ask a question. I'm not guaranteeing I'll answer it, but go ahead and ask. Every year when my kids were young, I would be in these way back when, remember Usenet? Remember news groups? Oh my goodness, I am dating myself. But anyway, before there was Facebook and all of those things, there were news groups, and we would and people, and I'd be like in the Jewish parenting groups and so on. And every year it would start in November, the December dilemma. What do I say? What do I do? What do I do when I've got a cashier kindly asking my kid what Santa's going to bring them? And what do I say? And what does my kids say? And how do I keep my kids from being feeling excluded? And that's why so many people make a big deal of Hanukkah, because it's actually quite a minor holiday, which just happens to fall in the same time of year, and people make a huge deal of it because they don't want their kids to feel like they're not having stuff. And it's the same, remind me of your grandma. Thank you. I will take that as a compliment. And TikTok is amazing, isn't it? I'm not getting that kind of comments on the other social media. There is nothing like TikTok, I'm telling you. And so coming back to the idea of community, if you are going to respect other people's bodily autonomy, I've been listening to Tricia Hersey. I've been listening to her audiobook while I was running, and she's talking about her ancestors and just other Black people on the plantation, the kind of overwork and exploitation. And we don't know the half of how of how terrible it was. And it's just the idea that creating any sort of community where humans are being treated like chattel, whether it's people who have a different skin color or people who are capable of bearing children, it is or just people who behave differently, people who have other interests, maybe different sexual interests, maybe different expressing a different gender, all sorts of things that people can do that are different. And the point is that when you have a structure that actively oppresses people because they're not part of the dominant group, and even if they are part of the dominant group, like I said, you look at all the stories of all these white LGBTQ people who have, were bullied and suffered so much. And this book is it's called Rest is Resistance by Tricia Hersey. And it's a fabulous book, and I strongly recommend it, especially for Black people, but everybody should read it. So coming back to the idea that no person is an island, it also means that everybody has to count and everybody has to matter. And it's when you've got a structural society where some people just matter more than others, when the well-being of some people is just not considered as important. I was reading, we're having some issues with our health system right now here in Manitoba, just like everywhere else, of course, but it's particularly bad right now, and because nurses are just had it up to here and they're leaving. And there's a story of this, saw in the paper, this guy, his dad is, you know, Justice Murray Sinclair. He's a retired judge. He was a senator, like a federal senator, and he was the head of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission here in Canada. He's a big deal, and he has heart issues. He's older, and they took him to the hospital, and basically they waited for 16 hours, and they would have waited longer, except that the son went and told them who his father was. And they were like, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't recognize him, and so on, and blah, blah, blah. So first of all, the whole idea that some people should move through the health system faster than others because they're celebrities or well known or whatever is already not okay. And the other thing is that, of course, being Indigenous, they were probably not being treated super let's just say they were not considered at the top of the level. There were probably other people being moved past them, just on the basis of being Indigenous, which is horrible. But I mean, that's basically how it is here. We do have some Black people, not a huge number. The people who suffer that kind of discrimination around here is the Indigenous people. Yes, hierarchy, exactly, Carrie. So I'm not suggesting that we should never have any sort of hierarchy. Humans have a habit of organizing themselves, but the point is that when you come to the actual value of people, if you've got communities of care, which is a term that I've been seeing a lot, and it's also something that Tricia Hersey talks about. When you have communities of care, what it comes down to is that people are valued even if they can't produce. I mean, right now with long COVID, there's a lot of people discovering what disabled people have known for a long time, that in our post-capitalist or late capitalist, I wish it were post-capitalist, but our late capitalist society, we are, if you're not producing, you are likely to be living in poverty unless you have, independent resources. And it's really bad. So anyway, how long have I been talking now? For a while. So it's probably time to wind it down because I don't like to make these too long. But you see me when you're walking. Okay, you know what? Drop me a message. If you live in my neighborhood, then we can chat. But coming back to that quote from John Donne, that no person is an island, everyone is of value. Okay, the Talmud says that someone who has saved one soul, it's as if they've saved the whole world. And I think in order to save the whole world, we're going to need to save a lot of souls, save a lot of people who, maybe they can't repay you. Maybe they, communities of care, it's not necessarily reciprocal. Some people can do more, some people need more. And so that's where I wanted to leave it tonight. I think it's really important that we all think about communities of care and how we can create them. Yes, we all need healing together. That is absolutely correct. And like I said, I've got this Substack. If you like these videos that I do on Sunday night, you might want to check out the link in my bio, wherever you're seeing this, on TikTok or on Instagram or all the other places. You see, I don't know what an NPC is. But if you see it, you check out the link in my bio. It'll take you to my link tree, and you'll see all sorts of things that I do. But and you can also join my free Substack, which has got no audio. Oh, I don't know what TikTok's doing then. There was audio. TikTok's being weird. Sorry, you guys can't hear me. But check out the link in my bio if you want to join my free Substack. Then you can see the written versions of the things I've been talking about. They're not exactly the same because I don't. It's not a transcript. But I do write about the things that I talk about, and I talk about the things that I write about. That's kind of how it goes. So have a great evening. I'm talking for 20 minutes. Woo! Have a good evening, and I'll talk to you again soon. You can drop me you can drop me a message if you like, and we can talk. Yeah, because on TikTok, once this live is over, all these comments are going to go away. So you can drop me a message if you want to talk to me, and all the other places where I am, you can drop a comment. You can send me a message. I would love it if you would check out my Substack to see the written version, and this is going to go on YouTube as well if you want to check it out later. So have a good evening. Thank you, Nutrients to Fit. And everyone else, remember, I love you. I'm so glad you're here chatting with me, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye. Let's see, how do we do this? And now, and broadcast, and now.